Hey guys, I'm doing this video today because my neighbor just stopped and asked me how my petunias are so pretty. So I just wanted to show you what you could be doing right now to make them even better. So the petunias look pretty good, but they do need a haircut every once in a while. So it's just as simple. Please ignore my dead shrub that I need to replace. I'm going to take my scissors. This is going to be painful for some of you. And I am going to cut the blooms off all the way around. Don't be scared to do this. They will grow better and better over time. You can see you've got some brown yuck underneath here. You can trim that out. Just shake it out if you need to. But on my petunias, I do not pick the blooms during the season. If you fertilize weekly, like in my previous post, and you water the right amount, not too much, not too little, then they can look like this without picking the blooms. But about now is a good time where you can go through and trim. And I'm going to do this on all of my window boxes. I'm probably going to get a ladder and do the ones that are trailing up to the top also. But it's just that simple, and it just helps them grow nicely. Okay guys, I'm going to focus on this petunia pot right here. So this morning my neighbor asked me my secret, and you know, it's not just my secret what I do, but it's also me asking questions about what they're doing. So the first thing with petunias, you want to buy the wave petunias, not the upright petunias in a pack. But then also, the bigger the pot you can put them in, the better they'll perform. So if you keep them in a hanging basket, they're probably going to struggle. But if you look, this is a really large pot. And so the bigger the pot, the better. And then watering. So I only water when I need to water. I don't just water because it's Tuesday and Thursday. So if the soil looks damp, if we're getting a lot of rain, don't just water them. My window boxes that are under the eaves in my house do not get rainwater. So I water those a few times a week, but not every day. If they're in a big enough pot with enough soil where they can grow and they can spread, they don't need daily water. And mine are south-facing where they get a lot of sun. In a small pot, they will require daily water, but there's a fine line between over and under watering. So you just want to make sure that you're not watering something that's already wet. If they're dry, definitely water them. I mean, they do require water, but don't overwater your petunias because that can be as harmful as underwatering. I'm going to go ahead and do the reminder on how much fertilizer to use. I use the Jack's brand fertilizer. If you use Miracle-Gro, that'll work well too. The instructions on the back of either say 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. And I use a 2-gallon watering can. So I just put 2 scoops in, fill it up with water, and use it. I would probably use at least a gallon at a time on this. Just however you normally would water, however much it needs to water. So if you do that once a week, make sure you're not overwatering, give them a good haircut. Make sure they have some sun. They do require some sun. They can work well in morning sun or all-day sun. Your watering will be different, so you'll have to adjust your water, but they do work well in either one. They just won't work well in full shade. They can grow, and this one is actually gets a little more shade than the others, and I think it even looks better than my ones that are in full sun. But I love petunias, put them all around my house. They do well, and it's not a lot of effort other than my fertilizing and I just usually trim them back once a year. I didn't think about this point a few minutes ago, but make sure that you're using a pot that has drain holes. So sometimes when you buy those big, nice ceramic pots, they don't have drain holes in them. Your plants aren't going to do well. So just straight up, they're not going to do well. Those, your roots are going to rot out. So make sure that you have some sort of drain holes in the pot that you're planting them in. I use fresh soil every year. I do use the Miracle-Gro moisture control in the blue bag. It is a little bit more expensive, but you don't have to water as much because it's got little crystals that help hold the water. And so I use that, but I still fertilize. Even though it says it has fertilizer and it feeds up to 6 months, or whatever the bag says, you still need to fertilize these plants to get the best, out of them. Just make sure that you've got good soil, drainage, sun, fertilize, and take your scissors. I really hate to chop this one back because it looks great. But just chop it off just like that. And it will do great for a few more months. Another thing I want to mention is that these are 4-foot window boxes. They are 48 inches long, and I only use 3 wave petunias in each one. These are bubblegum variety, and I buy them at Pratt's Greenhouse in Chesapeake, Ohio. They have beautiful petunias. We also shop at Kim's Greenhouse in Milton a lot. But these particular petunias came from Pratt's. I buy them every year there. You got to go to get them early, but definitely worth it. And I only have to put 3 in a 48-inch window box, and they fill out beautifully. This pot is probably about an 18-inch pot, and it has 1 petunia. It's really hard to see how big it is, but it has a span of about 4 foot right now. So you don't need to fill it up in May and be full at that time for it to be beautiful, because it is just now July the 3rd, and these have been beautiful like this for a while. So one of the petunias from Pratt's that they grow in their big, what they call mum pans, are beautiful and will fill up a pot like this. This pretty little guy right here, I'm not even sure of the color, but it is really beautiful, and it's just kind of tucked away in between Livia's milkweed that she's growing for her monarch butterflies. And then we've got some nasturtium here that we planted because we think it's really cool that you can just pick the blooms off and eat them. And so you can also eat the foliage, so we'll put that in our salads. But it's just a really beautiful color. And again, this is a hanging basket that I transplanted into a big pot. So here is a petunia pot that has some yucky brown in it. It could be due to the flood that we had recently. These pots were submerged. Either way, if you have this, do not despair. Here's what you're going to do. You are going to take this and you are going to cut in no exact way. It's very simple. You're not going to kill your petunias by cutting them. You're just going to cut it off all the way around. And a lot of you are very upset with me right now, but you will thank me later. And then just trim off any of that dead. It's going to come back. Once I get finished here, I'm going to fertilize, but you're just going to go through and trim this plant off. It's just like a good haircut. You always feel better, feel like your hair grows better, looks better. Your plants are the same, so don't despair about cutting your blooms off. They're going to grow, and then they're going to look better later on in the year. Up until usually Halloween, my planters look good. I do pull out my window boxes and put mums in them even before they die, usually, depending upon the weather that we have. But they will look good for longer if you cut them back and continue to fertilize. Let me know if you have any questions.